Hi, welcome to SBRForum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are continuing our preview of UFC 162 right now with Nick Kalikas, professional MMA odds maker. His website is MMAoddsbreaker.com. And we're also joined by the fight scientist, Reed Kuhn from Fightnomics.com. All right, guys, now we're going to talk about Tim Boetsch and Mark Munoz, and this is the one fight on the main card that I'm thinking that I'm really liking a side on. Let's see if you agree. We've got Boetsch at plus 115 right now. This is at 5 dimes, the last lines I've seen. Munoz is minus 135, and Munoz, of course, recently got fat. Now he's not fat anymore. He's slimmed down, but that's still kind of not a good sign. It's tough to recover from that. Even if it's a 5-month weight loss. Munoz has also been very inactive. Boetsch has been fighting. Both fighters, obviously have a big power in their hands. Both could win, but I think Boetsch at plus 115 is the right side here. What do you think, Reed Kuhn? You agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree. When I'm looking for an underdog, I'm looking for a combination of tail of the tape advantages combined with performance advantages, and that's what I see here. So he is going to be the larger fighter. He's younger, and in terms of striking, he gets a clean sweep across the board. He's got better knockout ratio. He's slightly more accurate, and he tends to push the pace a little bit against his opponents compared to Munoz, who has been backed in the corner a bit. And so on the ground, I think it'll be a wash. Both these guys. A tweet that actually got a lot of traction today is something I announced that they both, given that they are both good wrestlers, they actually have very low success rates in their takedown accuracy. Munoz is actually below average. It's only 23% success. Tim Boetsch is slightly higher at 36%. And they do have reasonable, maybe slightly above average takedown defense. So in terms of is this going to turn into a wrestling match? I'm not so sure, because neither guy probably is going to be able to throw the other one around. And so this may turn into a slow, deliberate striking affair, and in which case Boetsch has a lot of small but noticeable advantages across the board. So I think he makes a fun upset pick, given that he's got some value on the line.
What do you make of the fact that Munoz got fat and now he slimmed down a little bit? I mean, does that kind of indicate that maybe his head is not exactly where it should be?
Well, he seems to be very confident, which is usually a good thing for fighters. But in terms of the ring rust factor, usually ring rust is real, and I have analyzed that. It doesn't really kick in until the 12-month mark. But generally speaking, ring rust is indicative of something bad happening in the offseason, either a suspension, time away from the fight game, or an injury. And going through the ballooning of the weight, and believe me, I saw him back in December when he was probably around his peak of 260 pounds. He looked giant, and it was noticeable, and he was ashamed of it, and he was very aware of it. So he clearly did something miraculous, which was to get rid of it all. He looks fantastic now, but how much was he in the gym for all those months, immediately following his loss? Is he just getting back into training camp? He got thin, and now he's getting ready to fight. Guys who are continuously in shape, constantly training, those are the ones that are dangerous all the time. And so that just means he probably had a layoff that we're overlooking, even though he hasn't been away from the game that long. He was away from training for some of that.
Yeah, I call it the Oprah factor. Guys who get fat, then they're thin, then they're fat, then they're thin again. I always like to bet against guys who have that going on. What do you think, Nick Kalikas, Tim Boetsch, plus 115? I'm liking it.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you guys. I think we're on to something here, possibly. Munoz, I mean, the weight factor definitely doesn't hurt. I mean, his depression, he stated, mentally he wasn't there for a while. That's kind of what caused everything going on. I don't like that. I mean, if you're going to bet on a fight, you definitely got to take those things in consideration. And as far as skill versus skill set goes, I think Reed pointed out they're pretty even. And in fact, on the feet, you got to give some advantages, as he said, to Tim Boetsch as well. Now, wrestling, I think both these guys tend to be a little bit overrated, especially Munoz. Everybody thinks he's probably one of the best wrestlers in the UFC, and at least in the past they have thought that. I mean, he's been known to be one of the top-tier wrestlers. I don't know. His cage wrestling seems to be okay, but it's not that great. I honestly expected more, basically, from his background coming into the UFC. So I think that will neutralize each other out enough that Tim Boetsch should probably keep it on the feet, and there's just too many questions around Mark Munoz now. I mean, like I said, his depression, his weight gain, his chin has always been suspect to me as well.
Right.
So I think all signs are indicating that Boetsch probably is catching Munoz at a good time and is probably going to pull off the upset here, probably by TKO.
All right, so then why is Munoz the favorite, and what kind of action have you seen on it?
I opened in here, pick him again. So the betting public overall, general action early on has come in on Munoz, and I'm not that surprised really, because like I said, according to the past history of betting lines or whatnot, they do tend to respect Munoz. They think that he's a wrestling stud, and like I said, translation into the octagon. I mean, he did make a title run there. He was a fight or two away from a championship shot himself, so you got to give him credit as well. He has some solid wins on his resume, but a few of those wins, I think he honestly underperformed. He was gifted a decision in that as well. So, man, just he's a little bit overhyped. He always has been. And like I said, I think Boetsch is just kind of coming in at the right time and is going to probably pick him off at the right time as well.
All right. I think we
also got to point this out real quick as well. Yeah. Boetsch, in his last fight against Philippou, I mean, he looked good in round one, but then he did fall apart. I know a lot of people are saying with his injury or whatnot as well. I mean, there's some question marks there as well with Boetsch. Sometimes when the pressure gets on him, he tends to fold as well. So, again, if you're going to bet Boetsch, I wouldn't go crazy there either. You know, I mean, I just like the way these guys match up. So just be cautious, but I do agree with you guys on Boetsch.
But Nick, in the Philippou fight, though, he got poked in the eye, and so he was kind of like, dead in the water at that point. I mean, that's what that fight was all about.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can't take anything away from it, but I mean, tendencies in the past as well, before on some of Boetsch's losses, you can just look closer at those fights, and I think when the pressure does tend to kind of get on him a little bit, he just seems to fold or kind of give in a little bit. And I don't like to see that in a fighter either.
Right.
So that's where I am a little bit concerned. And Munoz, make no mistake about it, his ground and pound is nasty. I mean, he's got devastating ground and pound. So if he does get in a position where he gets on top and starts unloading, I don't know if Boetsch is going to want to be there. You know what I mean? So that's just a little bit of concern. But I do agree with you. I think that Boetsch is the tougher fighter, and he matches up well.
Right. No, Boetsch definitely has a tendency to get lackluster at times for sure. So I don't think it's a lock. But I think we're all in agreement. Boetsch plus 115 has some value here. Thanks, guys.